Welcome to another video. My name is Tom Nash. I'm in a good mood today since we're going to talk about Alibaba and a whole bunch of shit that happened over the weekend that just were crazy. Now, I posted a video yesterday talking about Alibaba. Basically, my premise was that the company is undervalued, specifically given the 30% drop that it took since late October because of all this anti-monopoly, antitrust probes. And basically, I told you that I see a lot of upside in the company. My target price was anywhere between $280 and $300. Now, there was a slight glitch in my DCF, and I posted a pinned comment letting you guys know that the actual updated price is $285. Now, here's the thing. Since we posted the video, the share in pre-market went up by almost 4%. I think it only is getting warmed up. But in this video, let's talk about something more interesting. Let's talk about the news that broke since we posted that video, and the news that broke could fill a whole year for a different company. That's crazy. That's why I have my Nikola shirt on, because this is Nikola style news cycles. This is insane. So where to begin? We have so much to talk about. So first of all, yesterday at 4 p.m., we found out that a class action lawsuit is being prepared by a major US law firm. Now, this law firm actually published that they're gathering clients for a class action lawsuit for misleading investors. Basically, the idea is that the company didn't let the investors know about the practices, about their contractual exclusivities and whatnot. Now that the government, the Chinese government, is going after the company, the share price dips, they're losing money on the stock market, and the company has to compensate them for that loss. That's the whole premise of the lawsuit, the way I understand it. Now, to be mild and gentle, I think it shows a lot about the litigious nature of US law firms, especially the ones that talk about these class action stock market lawsuits. It's very premature, especially because on itself, it seems like a very political internal Chinese matter. It seems more to do with Jack Ma's persona non grata status with the Chinese government now, rather than actual breaches of antitrust violations. Because let me explain something. A lot of platforms use exclusivity agreements. Just to say that you want an exclusivity with somebody as a condition to working with them doesn't necessarily mean that it's a breach of an antitrust, anti-monopoly regulation. The idea is, at least in modern societies where the antitrust laws are pretty much similar, let's call it this way. I don't really know exactly what the status in China is, but the idea of the antitrust regulation is to prevent predatory pricing. The whole idea is we're going to protect the competition, because if we won't protect the competition, the big guys are going to drive the small guys out of business, and then the big guys will hike up prices. That's kind of the gist of it. That's the whole idea of antitrust legislation. Now, when the company says, hey, I want exclusivity, that in itself isn't a violation of antitrust regulations or laws, to the best of my understanding. And even though when it's a huge company, there is a potential for predatory behavior when you're conditioning working with you as an exclusivity, I haven't seen any evidence of actual antitrust issues beyond just political internal Chinese stuff. Now, here's the thing. We haven't seen any evidence of that, but we also saw a lot of evidence about the fact that it had very little impact on the actual business of the company and the market. We showed you that article from Seeking Alpha basically quoting the competitor's financials, basically saying that it has to do with a minor fractional percentage of the actual business. So basically the idea was, if you haven't watched that video, and you should have, and without getting into too much detail, is that these exclusivity arrangements basically saying, hey, if you want to be a merchant on Alibaba, you can't be a merchant anywhere else. It only applied to a fractional percentage. It didn't have anything to do with the 80% of the business, with the individual merchants, the small merchants, which is the Alibaba we all know. But again, let's see what happens. The second piece of news is actually very exciting because it has to do with the next growth item of Alibaba, which I mentioned, which is the cloud services. Now, here's the thing. The Saudis are working with Alibaba on a 5-year plan to have Alibaba provide cloud services for their economy. It's a $500 million project. It's a massive project. And the whole idea is that the Saudis are looking to disconnect from oil, to cut their dependency on oil. And for that, they need to develop a whole infrastructure of high tech, and they need a lot of cloud infrastructure. And there is Alibaba, $500 million over 5 years. Not a bad start at all. And also, same day yesterday, we also found out that Ant and the Chinese government are working towards a deal. Essentially, the deal would be that Ant Financial will keep making money, essentially printing money for Jack Ma, while the whole lending business, which the Chinese government is freaking out about, which is only about 290 billion in revenue out of the 17 trillion that they have in financial services, that business is going to be separated, and uploaded to a single holding company that's going to be 100% regulated by the Chinese government. Essentially, it's kind of a compromise where the company gets to keep the money from the business, but the Chinese government will regain control of this whole alternative lending market, which it was freaking out about because essentially the Chinese government is all about control. They want to control the narrative and they want to control the means of printing and making money. If you have a secondary market unregulated for lending, you create a lot of financial activity which is not under the control of the government, and that freaks them out for a lot of reasons. So basically with this arrangement, everybody gets to be a winner. And actually is going to separate the businesses. The financial services will keep printing money like crazy. The whole lending business is going to be regulated under the thumb of the Chinese government, but Jack will get to keep the money, which is nice. And I think that means that Ant is actually going back on the stock market, probably Q2 2020, not sure. But it also means a lot about Alibaba. A lot of the pressure that Alibaba is facing in the whole antitrust issue might actually lax now that they're settling things with Ant. Let's see if this actually goes through, because if it doesn't, it's going to be a shitstorm. The fit will hit the shan. However, if they work it out and this deal goes through, Jack Ma is all Gucci again. Everything is back to normal, and I expect a major spike in the Alibaba price because people are hypersensitive for these emotional swings. And here's my big picture takeaways from this massive onslaught of news we had yesterday. First of all, Alibaba is expanding cloud services, which is something I said. I said this is their next growth item. Not the lending business. I expect this to be massive. This is B2B, business to business, massive margins, a lot of opportunity there. I really like that move. Second of all, Ant is actually working out things with the Chinese government. By separating the business, the debate is basically over. The Chinese government will actually get to control this thing, to regulate it, and to be the boss, while Jack gets to keep the money, which is a win-win for everybody. 3. Alibaba and Ant are still monsters in a global capacity. Alibaba, I'm not even talking about, but even Ant, without these lending businesses, there's still a $17 trillion company as far as revenue just from the financial services. You have to remember that this lending business has a lot of potential. That's why everybody's freaking out about it. But right now, it's only 290 billion versus 17 trillion they have in financial services and in this quasi PayPal stuff they're doing. So Jack Ma definitely don't want to kill Ant, and the Chinese government also doesn't have any interest in killing it if they can supervise the lending and kill the secondary market out of their control. Number 4, I think this whole arrangement with Ant probably will kill the antitrust case against Alibaba, as obviously it seems a lot like it was politically driven to leverage the company, to leverage Jack. I think this will actually kill the whole antitrust issue. If Ant actually works things out with the government, or basically if Jack works things out with the government about Ant, the whole Alibaba issue probably goes away because it's clearly politically driven. It's just leverage on him and the company. I think they're going to work it out. I think nothing will interfere with the massive expansion of this empire inside and outside China. So if you're thinking of getting into Alibaba even now, this is still a good opportunity, especially given all this news yesterday. And that remains the case even if you factor in this potential lawsuit or lawsuits, the class action potential lawsuits, because hey, Alibaba gets sued twice a day. I mean, this lawsuit is way premature. Nobody still knows what the hell is going on. Just having exclusivity agreements seems like a long stretch from actually breaching antitrust, anti-monopoly rules, especially with the past and the present Jack has with the Chinese government. But hey, at the end of the day, we don't really know. It's all my opinion, might be wrong, might be the ramblings of a madman, who knows. Do your own research, allegedly, blah, blah, blah. And hey, before we check out, a huge thanks for the channel members and the Patreons for making this possible. Shout out to people who've been buying the merch. We got the Nicholas shirt back in stock again. You guys killed it the last time. We bought it like crazy. Hey, we'll see you guys in the next video.